I secretly started a naughty of, and my husband's friends showed him. He confronted me in a rage. Honestly, I don't know how to undo what I have done, the damage that I've caused myself. I don't know how to wish everything that's happening away because I know the truth that I will never get Cole to look at me the same way again. I've lost him and it's all my fault, and that really hurts. My name is Ari, and I am now not only an abandoned wife, but one that is at the verge of getting a divorce finalized in 2 days. I did something really terrible, and I wish I could undo it, but no matter how much I plead and cry, I still get the same negative response. I just wanted to feel beautiful, and I thought doing what I was doing was the right way for me to feel good. I secretly started a naughty of, and my husband, well, somehow his friends found out and they showed him, and Cole confronted me in a rage. I remember that day like it was just moments ago. The day when my whole perfect life had come crashing down and no one was on my side. The feeling of dread and loneliness have been my only friends ever since. Cole and I never started this way. Cole didn't hate me so much in the beginning. Cole loved me so much in the beginning enough to marry me 3 months after we met. Our love was like those in the movies. Our friends envied how easily we loved each other. We were so into each other that we didn't doubt marriage when Cole suggested it. No one had any reservations either. Although I wasn't working at the time we got married because I had just finished my degree, we had no problems because Cole had a booming fashion line business. He was very wealthy, and he was also managing his father's business too, at the time which his father paid him for. I didn't want anything at all with Cole. He provided everything for me, and after marriage, I decided that I didn't want to work either. Cole and I were married for 6 years before the whole thing just spiraled in the wrong direction, mostly in my head. I became unhappy. Bored would be the right word. At first, Cole easily made time for me, and when he had to travel or leave, he made up for it with a lot of gifts and his full attention when he was around. But it reduced over the years, especially after Cole's father retired, and he had to handle everything. I got pregnant in our 2nd year of marriage with our son, and although being pregnant and having our son had kept me busy for a few years after that, immediately he started attending school. I was again left alone all day with nothing to do except look forward to their arrival. I tried to not to feel the way I was feeling, but developing a hobby was harder than I thought. I couldn't find anything I was interested in. Even my friends that we usually hung out with were only during the weekends because they each had their jobs and eventually their own families. But I had once confided in my friend about it, and she had told me to be grateful that I could be bored instead of being so tired all the time from work and then coming home to tend to the family again. It was painful because I felt she didn't understand me at all. Yes, I had servants that did everything, including the cooking, but it didn't make being a housewife any less stressful. And I couldn't complain to Cole about it. The one time I tried to tell him, he suggested that I start working somewhere or even for him, but I rejected the offer. I liked the comfort of being at home all day and still getting so much money. But it really didn't take away my boredom. I know you probably think I'm selfish and greedy by now, and sadly, it's true. But at that time, I didn't see it as that, and that had really been what led to my destruction. I came across a viral post one day. It was a woman who was being bashed online for starting an OnlyFans. Instead of being appalled by it, I found myself interested in the whole thing, especially because the said woman didn't even mind that people were against her. I searched for her, and I finally found her page. In fact, I paid to be one of her exclusive customers, and it was quite a high price to just see a fellow woman strip when told to do so. She intrigued me more and more, and I found myself every day and sometimes at night while Cole slept beside me on her page watching her videos. It wasn't because I was interested in her sexually, but because I wanted to be like her. I liked her confidence, how she danced so easily and how few words from her got men to part ways with their money easily. I was jealous of her. I felt like she wasn't saddled with a family she felt like she was only a tiny part of. She earned money just because she was sexy, and I just liked every part of it, and so I did the most stupid thing. I started mine. At first it was only just pictures I posted, and then I started to get requests to make videos. I didn't even show my face at first, scared that someone I knew would recognize me. I really became a perfect professional at taking pictures of myself without showing my face, and it got unexpected results. They were excited because I was anonymous and mysterious, and it made my fan page grow so rapidly. Within a month of posting consistently, I had more fans than I expected. I was happy, excited even. I was finally happy and busy. I wasn't bored at home anymore. In fact, I liked when my son and Cole were out because it gave me time to take the sexy pictures I wanted to. Whenever they were around, I found myself thinking of the next thing to post instead of concentrating on them. Cole actually noticed at first, and when he asked me why I was always distracted, I lied about just thinking about something else. From then on, I became extra careful so I didn't get caught. I started to live as two women in one body, one a sexy diva on my OnlyFans page and the other a devoted wife and mother. When I started to get money from my fans, I was more than elated. Funny how it wasn't even half of what Cole gave me, but it still excited me because it was my body making that money for me. Then eventually, I grew even more bold and started posting videos of myself, short clips of me undressing and teasing them. They loved it and requested more of it like hungry lions, and I was willing to do anything they wanted because they paid for it. Then I got a crazy offer from a random stranger who texted me. I didn't even know him from anywhere, but he was apparently one of my fans. He told me he knew how to grow my page, and curiously, I agreed to meet up with him because of how sincere he sounded. We agreed to meet up in an open place, and when he finally saw me, he suggested that we start to make videos together. He told people were more interested in that than anything else, and that I was going to make more money that way. I was tempted to accept the offer, but I refused it because I was scared at first. I had successfully avoided Cole suspecting anything for 4 months by then, and I was receiving more money by then too. So I didn't want to get too greedy and agree to something that could ruin me. But eventually, I agreed to it. It was because of the money. There was a new lady doing the same thing I was doing, and she was starting to steal my fans. They got no excitement from the things I posted anymore because, according to their comments, there was nothing new. I was desperate. I had to do something to get them back, and so I turned to that guy again. Luckily and unfortunately, his offer was still on. His name is Joe, but on my page he was known as Tiger. We started taking sexy pictures and videos by a professional photographer, who I found out eventually to be his friend. When I started posting pictures with Joe, I got so many fans again, and I was quite happy. We did all sorts of things to make the fans path with their money. Although I made sure it was strictly professional, I didn't want to cheat on Cole. I was already lying to him so much. I didn't want to add an affair to the list. That was a lie. I did cheat on Cole. Believe me, I tried not to, but the temptation was too great. All the stuff we did together made me imagine different sorts of things, and I really started to get attracted to Joe. I did try to stay away, but anytime I tried something on my own, they were always requesting for him. It didn't take very long after that before I gave in to my crazy thoughts. I slept with Joe. It had been a mistake. Well, I tagged it as that after I stood up from his bed that afternoon and was gathering my clothes on the other side of the room. We had just gotten more likes than we could ever imagine on the last crazy thing we posted, and it was the first time I got so much money. I had rushed over to Joe's place to tell him that once Cole had decided to go play ball with his son on that Saturday, and knowing that they wouldn't be back until evening because of their love for it, I decided to sneak out and share the good news with Joe, even though I could have done that on phone. Joe was as excited as I was, and he asked us to celebrate with a glass of wine each. And somehow things just got out of hand, and we ended up in Joe's bed. Even though I had been the one who started it when I kissed him first. I told Joe that it was a mistake and couldn't happen again, and Joe just said nothing when I left his house. It wasn't hard for me to go back to him for a repeat of that mistake. I couldn't stop thinking about him. Suddenly, Cole just couldn't do it right with me. He was suddenly too slow and then too fast in ending it, and I couldn't stop thinking about my time with Joe. So the next time I had an opportunity with Joe after we finished making videos together, I ensured that we ended up in bed afterwards. That just kick-started our affair. It was almost like I couldn't help myself. I wanted to be with Joe every day, and I became sex-crazed. After 2 months of sleeping with Joe, Joe suggested something rather crazy, and because I was just as stupid, I agreed to try it. He had suggested that we started to make sex videos online, and I agreed to it. In my head, I thought we were already sleeping together, so there was really no need to fake anything. We got thousands of views and so much money and requests to do more. I was so happy and upset at the same time, because during the live show we had done because Joe had suggested we go on live instead of recording a video, Joe had unmasked me and I had to pretend to go with it. Although unmasking me finally made people like the video even more, I was so scared that Cole was going to find out or somebody who knew me. I spent the next 2 weeks watching for any different reaction from Cole, but nothing happened. I was relieved. I even believed strongly that the people that surrounded us weren't people to follow something like that, so I grew even more bold in my contents with Joe. I wasn't wearing a mask anymore, and we got many subscriptions to post even more naughty stuff. I was happy and satisfied with my new life. I still had my dream family while working my job and having pleasure while at it, and both sides didn't affect each other because of how perfect I had become in playing both sides. But then Joe and I started to have some issues. He wanted to handle the account that we were being paid into because he believes I was cheating him, even though we had agreed from the beginning that he got 40% and I got 60%. He wanted 50% of the money and also access to the account. I had to create a separate account to receive the money because Joe had access to the other one, and although he never checked the monetary flow because most of the money came from him, I was scared he would decide to one day and I would get totally busted. But as you can already tell, I didn't get busted through the money, but through an entirely different way that I never thought possible. I had to give Joe all the access to the money because I trusted him enough to do that. I knew when he started to siphon the money out of the account, but I didn't mind. I didn't want to confront him because I enjoyed our time together, and I knew saying I knew anything about it would make him leave me. And I didn't really care about the money because I got more than enough from Cole each week to see to all of my needs. But what I didn't know at the time was that Joe was sending all the money he was stealing from me to his girlfriend. I thought he was loyal. Now I know that I was just being foolish. Someone who was brave enough to make adult content with a married woman online wouldn't have any other tricks up his sleeves. I was just so blinded by everything else that I refused to see what was right in front of me. The destruction that was threatening to take over my life until it finally did, and it was too late to save anything. I really thought I could get away with everything, especially because the one time that Cole could have found out, I managed to keep everything under control, and it made me really confident that I wouldn't get caught. That day, Joe was proving to be difficult to handle again. He wanted me to give him my car, which had been my last year birthday's gift from Cole. He apparently wanted to take it to an event and didn't want his, which I got him a few months before that day. I refused to give him, but Joe had resulted in blackmailing me emotionally until I gave in. But that day, Cole had come home and asked for my car, which I lied about, had some issues, and I had to give it to the mechanic. But Cole didn't believe me because he had apparently seen my car being driven around town by some guy who took it to the event he attended too. I was shocked and scared, and coming up with a lie at that moment was difficult, but I managed to do it and convinced Cole that the mechanic must have rented my car out after fixing it. I even pretended to be angry about it, and Cole believed me. After that incident, I never gave Joe my car again, and I believed that since I could avoid Cole finding out the truth about the car, then he couldn't ever catch me. It's a stupid thing to believe, I know, but I just deluded myself into believing that I really was perfectly safe. I remember that evening like it was just moments ago, that day when my whole world had come crashing down, the day that I lost Cole and our son forever. I remember how Cole had opened the door aggressively and slammed it the same way. I was in the kitchen humming while I prepared dinner. It was my birthday, and I wanted us to just have a family dinner. I didn't want to go out. Although Cole had gotten me a gift earlier that day, and then he stepped out to see his friends whom he hadn't seen in months because of how busy he had been. I had dismissed the maids, wanting to do something special for our family that night. But everything just ended up getting ruined. I remember how Cole had walked into the kitchen yelling my name angrily, which had me really confused. I couldn't have guessed what he knew. I didn't understand what had made him so worked up. But before I could ask or say anything, Cole slammed his phone on the kitchen aisle and asked me to explain what that was about. Still confused, I turned off the heat on what I was cooking, and I reached for his phone. I remember how I felt that night, that terrible feeling that crawls up your spine like you were in a horror movie. I felt it when I saw myself and Joe having sex online playing that phone. It wouldn't have made any sense to me watching it on a different phone because I had gone online and watched our acts several times too, just to see what made people satisfied in watching it. But it was different this time because I was watching that on my husband's phone, and he was standing there looking in unconcealed anger and disgust. I couldn't say anything. My throat felt stuck, and words seemed to fail me. I didn't even realize I was shaking and crying until I felt the tears drop on my skin, and I suddenly realized that the room had grown suddenly cold. Cole was so angry, and he was just shouting at me. He asked me if I knew how disgusted he had felt when his friends decided to show him that video of his own wife sleeping with another man and putting it out there for public display. He told me that he wanted me to get out that instant and never return, and he threatened me that I was never going to see my son ever again because he was going to make sure I didn't. He also told me that my parents and friends were probably experiencing the same level of disgust for me as he had because he had sent it to them too. In his words, he said, "Since I wanted to become a public slut, everyone might as well know it." I was so shocked and couldn't still move, but Cole left me there, and before I could summon the courage to go upstairs and beg for mercy, I saw him dragging down my suitcase to the door. I ran to Cole, I held his legs and begged him to forgive me, but he wasn't listening to me. He just kept calling me different colorful names and threw my bag out. He even told me that I wasn't worth taking anything out of his house since it was his money, but he was only going to pity me even though I didn't deserve any. Once Cole succeeded in throwing my bag out and me with it, he locked the door from inside, and no matter how much I begged for him to let me in, to explain or beg for forgiveness, Cole wouldn't listen to me, and I spent all night in the cold. The next morning, Cole came out to the garage ready to go to work, and he had our son with him. I tried to talk to him again, and when I reached for our son, he coiled his hand tighter around his father. That rejection hurts more than anything I've ever known. I've always known he loved his father more because despite the fact that he was away so much, he never not spent time with him. But that moment when my world was falling apart and my innocent son still drew from me, I felt like he knew what had happened, despite being so young, but as smart as his dad. Hatred from both father and son dug deep into my spine, and the wound has refused to heal till date. Cole left me there without a word to me. I knew what that meant. He was done with me, but it was so painful, and I didn't want to give up. I wanted to delude myself into thinking I could get a second chance. But there was no chance of that happening because everything kept happening all at once. Because I got alerts that Joe had withdrawn all of the money in the account, and when I got to his place, he was nowhere to be found. When I called him, he told me that he deserved the money because he was starting a family with his pregnant girlfriend. I was so devastated, and as if the bad news weren't enough, my parents kept calling, and when I wouldn't pick up their calls, they texted me, and I could feel their anger through the texts. My father's words had been simple. He had only said that he had no daughter from that moment onwards, and while my mother's words were longer and full of insults and regrets of having me, it had ended with the same statement as my dad's text had. I tried reaching out to my friends, but I realized minutes later, after trying both their numbers countless times, that they had blocked me. My life became so messy in just one day, and I just couldn't bear it. Reaching out and begging Cole after that day became even more difficult because he made himself so scarce at home, and I was not allowed into his office based on instructions. No matter how hard I tried to make things right with him, I met with a dead end, and it was just so horrible. From a wife and mother, I became this empty stranger with nothing but loneliness and painful memories to fill her day. From a woman who had nothing to worry about to one who had to worry about the rents, feeding, and even debts repayment. I spiraled down the road of ruin so fast it was almost like a flash. I regret everything so much because I know that no matter how much I wish for things to be different, there's nothing I can do to win back Cole's affection. He hates me, and inevitably my son will hate me too if he doesn't already. I regret ever opening that account. I regret ever meeting Joe, that half of a man who has not only ruined my life, but everything that the future promised. Although I deleted the account 2 days after Cole found out, sadly, that didn't fix what I broke. I'm just here living through the agonizing memories that I know will never fade away and will always haunt me for the rest of my life.